Shalom everyone, and we are in Parashat Mas'ei, the last parasha that seals the book of Numbers. You can find it in the book of Numbers, chapter 33 till the end of the book. So we're finishing the reading of the book of Numbers, and this week it's when the readings in Israel and outside of Israel are getting together. And the question is, what is the connection to the readings of this parasha to what's going on around, especially in the world? And we are in a very intense time of the year, in a decade that is very intense time in the history of humanity. And as I said few years ago, when we are coming to this decade, which is from 1920, a little bit earlier, a few months earlier, because the Hebrew decade started a few months earlier. You know, the Hebrew New Year is a few months before the solar New Year. So the question is that what we spoke about, there is a special era of transformation, that the world is shifting to a new era very slowly. It's not that fast as people think. It's pretty slowly. It's still very intense, especially that you can see so many processes of transformation, either in the global uh, picture and in the individual picture. A lot of people are changing their view about their own reality, about their own way of life. And it's going to take years, but we are just in the beginning of that decade. We're just in 2022. We have 8 more years for this process. And this process is very powerful because it is part of the great process of what is known like New Age, the age of Aquarius, or in the Kabbalistic terminology, it's the age of the Messianic age. Humanity is moving out of bondage closer into freedom. However, that's not going to happen just in an instant. So the first thing that we know is we see pressure. What does it mean, pressure? And especially during these 3 weeks that just started a week ago, and we are having 2 more weeks of this time. These are the 3 weeks of judgments, Bein HaMetzarim. We spoke about it before. However, Parashat Mas'ei is always being read during the time of the 3 weeks, and it's always about judgments, because we have to understand what judgments are about in order to figure out how to deal with what we are going through in our own individual journey and in the global journey that is getting more and more intense, because the shift is irreversible. And let me explain what does it mean. If we read the parasha itself, and again, the book of Numbers speaks about, the numbers of the Israelites in the desert. However, the book of Numbers started when the Israelites just leave Egypt. They are on the way to the promised land. They come to the gates of the promised land. They miss the opportunity to get into the promised land. They get a decree to stay for 40 years in the desert, and then they're coming back towards the promised land. And by the end of the book of Numbers, they are already camping in front of Jericho on the east part of the Jordan River, ready to have a shift of leadership. Moses is supposed to leave. Joshua is supposed to take the leadership, and then they are coming in to the promised land. And so that's what this book is covering, and a lot of stories of mishaps, failures, redemption, repentance, all of that all together in this book. It's a very terminus book. So, and it comes out with a summary. And the summary is like this when we read the book of Numbers, chapter 33, Ele Mas'ei Bnei Israel Asher Yatzu Me'eretz Mitzrayim. These are the journeys of the children of Israel that left or got out from the land of Egypt, Letzivotam, with their armies, Beyad Moshe ve'Aaron, in the hand of Moses and Aaron. Vayichtov Moshe et Motzaehem, and here Moses is writing down the summary of the journeys. Okay, so Rashi, the great commentator, the greatest of them all, as I said many times, Rashi, his name is the initials of Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki. He lived in France during the 11th century, 1,000 years ago. And he writes, Lama nichtavu hamasaot halalu. Remember, he wrote it exactly in the same words, and we can still understand what he's saying because it's our language in Hebrew. Why did all of these journeys had to be written down? Leodiach hasadav shel makom, in order to tell us the mercies, the loving kindness of God to us. שאף על פי שגזר עליהם לטלטלם ולהניעם במדבר, although he put a decree, he decreed upon them to take them around the desert, you won't say they were just moving and journeying all the time, because along 40 years they had 42 journeys. 14 of them were in the first year. צא מהם י"ד שכולם היו בשנה הראשונה, קודם זרע. 14 of the 42 happened already on the first year, before the decree. Okay, and then, let me explain what does he say. He's saying something, is giving us a hint, a very important one. Here we have 42 journeys, okay? And these 42 journeys describe all the journeys from the Exodus all the way to being camping in front of Jericho just before crossing the river and making the move of taking Jericho and the rest of the land of Israel. Okay, so why is it important to tell us about the journeys? Rashi is telling us to show us how much love, how much kindness God has towards his children. Okay, and by this, Rashi is giving us the whole big picture of what we're doing over here. Why? There are many layers of secrets in this parasha. First of all, when we speak about journeys, why do I need right now, 2022, in this calendar? Why do I have to remember and to mention 42 journeys, something like 3,300 years ago? So many things happened since. Why do I have to stick to that and remind it and remember it every year again and again around this period of time? And the answer is like this. We humans, we need to go through journeys. We were not born on this planet in a physical body in order to find a way to preserve everything and to let it stay the way it is. Although a lot of people, they just pray, wish, and make an attempt to freeze everything that it will stay the way it is. We know that this is not normal. Yes, a lot of people are afraid of change. A lot of people are too lazy to deal with change. But as life moves on, as the history of humanity is moving on, we learn that change, innovation, transformation, learning, improvement, this is a basic part of what human nature is about, what human life is about. If you do not change, you just, you know, if you leave something to stand too long, either it gets rusty or it gains mold. Okay? So you do not want to get rusty or to gain mold, become moldy. You want to grow, and as the Talmud is saying, angels are called Omdim. A lot of places in the Tanakh, in the Bible, it says Omdim, standing. Humans are called Holchim, walking, which means if you do not walk, if you do not journey, if you do not move on, if you do not change and transform, what are you doing over here? You are a human being, and your job is to walk, make a journey, transform, reinvent yourself, and start all over again. However, if you do not do that, you will have, as we learned before, you will have to move forward because the light that is waiting for you, as the Kabbalists call it, the surrounding light, that surrounding light, when you're not opening up to receive that future potential that is awaiting each one of us, that future light is trying to get in. So what if something bigger is trying to get in a smaller vessel? The result will be pressure, growing pressure, larger pressure, pain, explosion, breaking up, and then realignment along the new size that is taking over. Again, I'm just explaining Kabbalistically the basic rules of human life. We are here to grow. There is a light awaiting for us. There's a light of different levels that we have to go through. Those levels are waiting for us. They are surrounding us. They're trying to move in and fill us up because, as we said before, it's all because of the love of God towards his creatures. And if we live here in a physical body, it's the only realm that we can make a transformation, a change, growth. We cannot have those achievements when we are not in a body. Why? Because when you're not in a body, everything is clear, everything is visible, everything is understood, and there's no challenge. The challenge is only in a world that is dark, full of confusion, full of pain, full of darkness, full of all kinds of diversions, and making the change, that's our calling. And again, if we are not making the journey will be made for us, and that will be by the forcing of the Creator. And therefore, although it looks for us terrible, painful, upsetting, discomfort, or disease even, disease, finally, in the long run, we will see how all of these trials and tribulations basically make us grow. Nobody grows when things are light, comfortable, and clear. When is that we grow? We grow only under a lot of pressure. When we have to let go of the past because it's too painful to hold on to it. So therefore, when we are speaking about these 3 weeks of judgments, we're talking about this is like the center, the high holidays of judgments of the whole year long. which means we will be more sensitive to judgments, to pressure during these 3 weeks. So either we fall apart to the pain and then we'll have to put everything back together. Or a lot of people, under a lot of pressure and a lot of pain, they simply give up and then they simply start to die. Being spiritual means that you look at pressure as an opportunity. You realize that the surrounding light is trying to get us bigger, and therefore the pain. So either we grow by focusing on a greater future, focusing on a spiritual ongoing growth, and then we chase the growth and we generate the pressure by ourselves initially. That's called the way of Torah, in which you set yourself always goals of spiritual growth. You're never trying to settle down, just, God, leave me the way I am, and I don't want to change. I want to live me this way. This is not healthy. It's impossible. If you are here, there are some goals you have to achieve. Spiritual, I'm not saying you should be a billionaire if you're not. That's not a goal. That's a mean. The goal is to become a brighter, more positive, more spiritual, more powerful, more closer to the light, and being able to generate more positivity to humanity, because that's the job of every human being. This is the job, this is the goal. At the same time, we have to understand that if we are not going to run after spiritual growth and to climb the different levels that we're going to learn today, some basic tools of climbing from one level to another, then we're going to be changing by running away from pain, which is the road of pain and suffering. Okay, so when we are talking about the journeys, again, chapter 33 and of the parasha of the book of Numbers, it's speaking about the journeys of every human being that has to be done. Those journeys should happen in our lifetime. We do not complete the journeys, we'll have to come in another life and another life till we complete the journeys that we need to go through in order to become that godly creature of light that we were created for. So we have that calling. That calling in the big picture is our big surrounding light. Therefore, in order for us not to be stuck, the surrounding light will push us forward, and all of these journeys will basically slowly, and sometimes too fast, for our opinion, we will be pushed forward, and till we're going to find our calling as a divine creature, each one of us, each human being. However, Rashi is saying if we take the stand that it's all by the grace and the love of the Creator towards us, that will ease the pain and allow us to grow. Why? I'll explain. It's very simple. The basics of spirituality, the basic of spirituality is not about, talking about love and kindness and so on. And when it doesn't happen, you get very alarmed and upset about it. The real speaking about spirituality is learning that there are no free lunches. You cannot achieve new levels without pressure, without pain, it's like the same thing. If you want, somebody is hungry and he wants an amazing meal, okay? The vegetables and all the produce is not going to jump out of the fridge into your table set already. There's a process that is involved with a lot of cutting, slicing, peeling, cleaning, cooking, roasting, a lot of heat, and at the end of the process, a lot of dishes that are dirty to be washed, a lot of peels, a lot of dirt that you have to clear and get out of the house, can't leave it in the kitchen especially. So, nothing comes out just like this. This is the process. Same thing. The moment you welcome the process, the moment you realize that every process is basically the no pain, no gain. This is the pain in order to achieve and to earn the gain. That's how it goes. It's like you need to go through all of those judgments, all of those delays. But I'm hungry. I want the food right now. You'll have to wait. There's a delay. There's a time of clearing, cleaning, peeling, slicing, chopping, roasting, waiting for it to rise. There's a time, and the whole thing takes the time. That's judgments, delay. Those delays test our abilities to be creators, creators of our own process. Okay, understanding that is the process. This is my opportunity to earn greatness, to earn something bigger than what I am right now. And this is okay because it's all by the grace of the Creator giving me the opportunity, the challenge to go through these moments that need a lot of patience, a lot of thinking, a lot of awareness involved till it's ready. I know, wise people know that it takes time. What does it mean? Time, delay, which means there is an evolutionary process till you get the meal you are dreaming about. And you know what? Even if you want to order it in another place and you want it fresh, they have to do it. So you pay them to do it for you. They have to chop, they have to slice, they have to roast, they have to bake, they have to wait, they have to clear the garbage, wash the dishes, and you pay them for that. That's how life is built. So if you're ready to understand Rashi's thing, see the grace of the Creator. It's all about giving us opportunities to make the journeys. And some of the journeys take longer and some less time. Sometimes you will be finding yourself in a certain job, in a certain place, a certain home for a long, long time, and you won't get out of there till you finished that journey, which means till that level that you have to complete is totally ripe and finished, like cooking. Some if you want to bake bread and you want to bake a real bread, not artificial, so it has, just to add the sourdough or the yeast and stuff, it will have to take hours, sometimes a whole day, sometimes even more than that. And then baking, if you want to have a quality product, you need to understand it takes its own time. Same thing when we are the product. We are the product of that journey. The moment we have the patience, because we know this is the grace of the Creator. So the moment I complete that journey and it's ripe and it's baked, I don't need to stay in the same place anymore. With no time, I'll find myself hopping, moving, sometimes even being thrown out of a place I've been, and I thought that's my last station. Who said that's your last station? Why do you want it to be your last station? So sometimes it's your job, sometimes it's your relationships, sometimes we have to move on to a next job, a next home, a next place of living. Why? Because that's the next tikkun. Could be just in the consciousness or even physically. Okay, all of this is under what we call here the journeys. But there's a deeper meaning to it, and we are going to go into that deeper story. And for that, we need a lot of patience because here we are asking the question, why 42 journeys? And whoever is studying Kabbalah for a little bit knows exactly that the number 42 is a very important number. This is the number that is called, that is known for as the name of 42 letters. So let us try to understand what is this name of 42 letters, what can we do in order to use it for our own journey, and why is that being read always in the middle of the 3 weeks of judgment? So for that we need the PowerPoint. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, one small question I have. Can the 42 also mean 6 times 7 sfirot? Like the first
I'll
six
speak
sfirot?
about it. I'll speak about it. Yes, it
Okay,
is.
thank you.
But it's deeper than that. Okay, so here we are in this time of the age that humanity must move much faster than ever before into a world that is much more full of grace, freedom, enlightenment, happiness, because most of the journey has already been taken. Okay, we are towards the end of the journey of this period of humanity. That this journey is already towards the end of the sixth millennium. And we'll speak about it. Okay, so that's why humanity is going through a lot of pressure. All of this pressure is because we have to leave behind so many wrong beliefs, so many fake wisdoms and faiths, so many fakes way of life, and we have to move on to the next era that will be much happier. And especially, we went through an era in which the Creator gave us a lot of grace. People for many, many years said, God, if I just had what to eat, I'll be much more spiritual. So now we've seen that people had so much food, so most of us have problems of overweight, not and just we didn't become much more spiritual, and humanity did not become so righteous. So the golden calf is still an issue that we have to deal with, and because our culture is based today so much upon the golden calf issue of materialism, and that is not making us happy. Okay, so let us see, go back to the number 42. And here, that it's all starting from Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ, והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was tohu vavohu, translated wrongly into chaos. Okay? However, you see over there that there are 42 letters marked in white, and the Kabbalistic wisdom is teaching us that these 42 letters are basically a code, a cosmic code. There is a very sophisticated mathematical equation that translated into what is called the name of 42 letters. We'll come to it soon. Okay, the name of 42 letters is encoded in the first 42 letters of Genesis. And the moment I see that this is encoded in the first 42 letters of Genesis, I already understand this lame of 42 letters is connected somehow with the original DNA of the whole creation. And for that, we need to learn some steps. So first of all, how is that connected to our lives? So in ancient days, the name of 42 letters, if you look at the picture right now, so you see on the left, you see 7 sequences of 6 letters each, one above another, altogether 42 letters. What you see basically is the name of 42 letters. Okay, that's called the name of 42 letters, and this is the sequence of the letters. And you see them on the left. Now, as we are talking about the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, everything that looked like magic, whoever looked like dealing with magic, sooner or later was executed by the Inquisition or some other religions. So that had to be hidden. And that was hidden in a prayer that you can find this prayer in every Hebrew prayer book. Okay, and we are talking about the initials of the prayer. So basically the prayer was inserted into the prayer books as a code for the name of 42 letters. So you see it on the left, the name of 42 letters, and then you see on the right that prayer that you can find in every Hebrew prayer book, and it's called the prayer of the Ana Bekoach. Ana Bekoach, which is like many prayers in the Hebrew prayer books, their name is basically used as the first or 2 first letters or words of the prayer. Okay, so this is the prayer of the Ana Bekoach. Whoever prays daily has to go through this prayer. A lot of people skip it because they don't understand how important it is. And a lot of people, they say it, but without understanding the depth of what this prayer is about. But what we understand, that the most important part of the prayer is not the words of the prayer, but the concentration on the initials, which means, as you see over here, when you say the first line of the prayer, you then in many prayer books you see the initials written. You do not pronounce them, you just meditate upon them. Now, what for and why is this so important? So as we say, those letters that you see on the left that have no meaning in Hebrew, it's like a phone number. It's a cosmic code, one of the most important codes that the universe is structured based upon. And knowing this code is very important for us, and we'll see why. And how is it connected to what we just spoke about it in the beginning. And by the way, you just write Ana Bekoach or the name of 42 letters in Google, and you'll find the text. If you don't know, don't get stressed out. It's all there. It's out in the opening. Now, first of all, we have to understand that the name of 42 letters, it is in the beginning of the creation, as we said before, because this name has a magical power of liftoff, lifting us from one realm, one dimension, into a higher one. Remember what we said before. A human being must make a journey, and the journey is always upwards, which means we need to lift ourselves, we need to ascend. always to a higher degree, always to a more broader way of thinking, living, accepting reality, accepting joy and happiness and light. And that needs special tools. That needs a journey. That's a real journey. Which means if you're running around every day, or even if you're running like from one country to another, but you stay on the same frequency, that's not a journey. They're just running around. Okay? So, first of all, we see that there are three basic levels of the name of 42. One of them is called the name of Olam Yetzirah. Olam Yetzirah, the world of formation, is the world above our physical bodies, which means the physical bodies our physical bodies, they exist in Olam Asiyah, which is the world of action. Physical bodies with physical thought, with physical consciousness, that's where we start. That's where every animal starts. The difference is that a cow will always stay a cow, and a sheep will always stay a sheep. A human being must transcend to a higher level. And rising from Olam Asiyah to Olam Yetzirah is really essential. And one of the ways to relate to it, that the name of 42 letters is 42 because it connects to 3 times 14. The number 14 is a very important number because 14 is the number of knuckles we have in our hand. 14 knuckles. Now, the 14 knuckles means, in Hebrew, by the way, it's a number, Yud Daled, but it's also the name of a hand, Yad. Now, there are 3 hands being mentioned in the Bible, in the tradition, many times. The big hand, the strong hand, and the upper hand. Those 3 hands, if you take 3 times 14, you get 42. Why is that important? When we say the prayer of the Ana Bekoach every morning, or any time we feel that the physical world took over us and it's really becoming a dungeon and it's suffocating us, and we cannot feel God's grace and love because we are so surrounded with our mental state of mind of stress, fear, pain, and darkness. It's like we calling our daddy, please lift me up, I need a lift off. And then our great Father in the heavens puts down 3 hands. Why? 2 hands he can fall over. 3 hands will just make sure that you are going to go through a liftoff. So when we say the prayer of the Ana Bekoach, and when we meditate on the 42 letters that we just mentioned, we are basically activating the 3-hand system liftoff that basically can take us to a higher place, to a higher frequency in which we can escape the dungeon of physicality and negativity. This is the basic, most simple understanding of what the Ana Bekoach is about, what this prayer is about, or what this name of 42 letters is about. However, there's another realm. When we are in the realm of Olam Yetzirah already, and we want to go to Olam Beriah, which is a much more spiritual level, over here we go to the book of names, the book of Exodus. In Hebrew it's called the book of names. In the first parasha, there is this very famous scene known by whoever knows somehow about the Torah. He knows about the vision and the story of the burning bush. Moses is there facing the burning bush. He has that revelation that God tells him, go and tell Pharaoh, let my people go. And Moses says, who should I say sent me? And God says to him, in English, I am what I am, which is a terrible translation. It's not even close to what was really said in the Hebrew. In the Hebrew, it says, Eheye Asher Eheye. Eheye is one of the names of God that represents the level of Olam Bria, the level of the very high spiritual uh, uh, frequency that Eheye is mentioned twice. Eheye Asher Eheye. Eheye equals to we know that Hebrew letters are numbers. So in this case, the name Eheye is 21. But we have the name Eheye twice. Eheye Asher Eheye. Okay, so twice 21 is 42. The 42, this is the name of 42 that connects to Olam Bria. It's not the first name that we saw. The previous one, that is Aleph Bet Gimel Yud Tav Tzadik. Okay, as we see over here, it starts with Aleph Bet Gimel Yud Tav Tzadik, or this name. Now it's another name. That's a name of a liftoff in Olam Bria, which is much higher. That's a world of real true freedom. That's a world the Israelites faced when they were experiencing Mount Sinai revelation. That is the level of awakening and spiritual perception that was pushing the Israelites all the way from Egypt all the way to Mount Sinai. But it's a higher level. That's a level of Olam Atzilut. In this level, if you look at this level, the name of 42 here is different. Here it goes with the tetragrammaton that has 4 letters, as you can see the number 4 in Olam Atzilut. And then it's being expanded to the names of the letter. That's called expansion. It's called also the backside, which means backside means you have my back, which means that's a vessel, the holding. So when you write the tetragrammaton, it has 4 letters. Tetra means 4 in Greek. Okay? But when you spell out the letters, Yud is 3 letters, Yud Vav Dalet. Hey is 2 letters, Hey Yud. Vav is 3 letters, Vav Yud Vav. Hey is 2 letters. So all together you have, when you spell it out, which means manifestation, bring it down and process, it's 10 letters. But if you do the same thing for another stage, then you open up, you spell out again. You spell the Yud into Yud Vav Dalet. That's a 3rd line. Over here you have 28 letters. Now, if you take the 3 lines together, you have 4 letters plus 10 letters plus 28 letters. That will give you 42. So 42, it's again 42, but now it's in a realm of Olam Atzilut, which is a higher realm, a higher perception, it's higher altitude, and that's called the name of 42 of Olam Atzilut. That's what you see in front of you. It's divided into 4, 10, and 28. Okay, how do we use them and why? So again, we are here in the period of the 3 weeks of judgments, that all the judgments of the whole year stem from these 3 weeks. So if we control them, transform them, understand them, it will be easier for us to deal with judgments through the whole year. So we are reading right now from the book of Genesis, chapter 36, verses 31 till 39. Again, the book of Genesis, chapter 33, 6, verses 31 till 39. And it says, ואלה המלכים אשר מלכו בארץ אדום לפני מלוך מלך לבני ישראל. And these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom before there was a king for the children of Israel. And here are the names of those kings, and what's special about them, that the names of the kings appear over here, but also sometimes the name of the city, sometimes their wives, but what's appearing with all of them, Vayimloch, and he reigned, became a king, took power, Vayamot, and he died. And if we go to Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Arizal, the greatest Kabbalist of the 16th century, and his book, The Tree of Life, and over there, Rabbi Isaac Luria explains to us that this little paragraph of few verses that we just read from the book of Genesis has the secrets of all the judgments of our universe. And he says, בפרשת תזריע, in the Zohar, תנא מן בוצינה דקרדינותא נפקין שין כ"ה ניצוצין. From the original creation, from the source of the creation, came already 325 sparks. And these 325 sparks are coming misitra de gvura, from the side of the judgments. Uvaidra daf kuf lamed bet, and in the Idra Rabbah, which is another very important part of the Zohar, מסתכל אבינה וארו חמינה נהורה יקירה דבוצינה אלאין נהיר וסליק לשין כ"ה איברים. When we're talking about the original spark of the creation, it spreads over to 325 directions. ואף על פי ששם נראה שהם שח ניצוצין, וכאן אנו קוראים אותם רפ"ח, או שין כ"ה ניצוצין, הכל הוא עניין אחד. Sometimes we call them 320, sometimes 325, sometimes 288. It's the same thing, and he will explain. ונודע, and we should know, כי הגבורות והדינים הם כפולות. The judgments, all of them, they are doubled. And there are two times, יש שתי פעמים שח בזעיר אנפין. In the Sephirah of Zeir Anpin, there are two times 320 judgments. And therefore, Zeir Anpin, the upper spiritual world, is called Shemesh, the sun. The sun, because the numerical value of the sun is, in Hebrew, Shemesh, is 640. 640 is two times the 320 judgments. Okay? And when it comes to our world, the spiritual realm, the realm of what we call, what is relatively to us, the creator, from our point of view, it's not the creator, but it's the realm, that the spiritual realm, it is the sun. Why? Because like the physical sun, that the sun shines always, all the time, without ups and downs, without making any circles. The sun is a constant, right? It's constant. So the same thing is the spiritual light, the spiritual world. The Creator shines constantly at us. We just need to open up to it. And therefore the physical sun represents that level, but that level is present always in our lives, and we need just to open up to it. So, in our physical world, it's also twice 320, but that gives us Tamar, the date palm, the tree that basically gives fruits with all the nutrition that we need in order to live properly. Okay, especially in the Middle East, the date palm is a source of a lot of health and power and nutrition. Okay, so it's all symbolism, but that is our physical world. כי הנה שם א' ד' נ' י', מורה על הדין כנודע. When we're talking about the physical world, in our world, that's the name of God that we do pronounce in the prayers, and that's the name of Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. We never pronounce the Tetragrammaton because it belongs to the world above. So there's no sound to it and no pronunciation for it. But the name we do pronounce, Adonai, okay, is basically judgment. Why? Because the word judgment, din, is in that name. Okay, so if we take the judgment, and because the judgments come to our lives in 5 different aspects, as we learned last week when we learned about killing the Midianites, the word Midian is also from the source of din, judgment, and the Midianites, they had, lo and behold, 5 kings. You can't run a nation with 5 kings. Now we're talking about the symbol of judgments. They have 5 major judgments, original judgments. When you take the word judgment, din, 5 times, you get basically 320. There's another way to relate to judgments, and that's the 5 final letters in the Hebrew alphabet. In the Hebrew alphabet, there are 5 letters. When they are being written at the end of a word, they are written a little bit differently. They are called the 5 final letters. It's not grammar. It's all codes of spiritual formulas. If we take those 5 judgments together, then the numbers, we get the number 280. That's another form of judgments. 280. When we read in the beginning of the month of Cancer, Tammuz, about the red heifer, in Hebrew, para is Peiresh, 280, plus 5 judgments. So you take that judgment, and with that judgment you can heal any possible energy of death, which is the ultimate force of judgment. Which means all what we learn during this time of the year is how to use your judgment as a tool to basically shift, lift, clear, and heal, because the fire that, let's say, creates a disease like inflammation, if you want to heal inflammation, you have to create the fire of spiritual excitement, of happiness and love. So that one is fire and that one is fire. But this fire heals the other fire. The fire of stress, anger, upset, and nervousness creates diseases. And the fire of excitement and happiness and love, that creates healing. So both are based on fire. Both are based on judgment. And that's why the word in English, judgment, is not really good for that. Because in Hebrew, gvurot, it comes from the word lehitgaber, to overcome. So who is the hero? Gibor. And who is the hero? King Solomon is asking in the book of Proverbs. Ezeu Gibor, hakovesh et itzor, the one who conquers his evil inclination and transforms it. A hero is not somebody who can lift a lot of weights or kill a lot of people. That's not a hero. That could be a bully. Okay? A real hero, Gibor, is somebody who overcame the judgments with counter judgments that he created on his own. And that's why you need the judgments in order to heal, repair, and build up upon the judgments. Because the secret of the creation of this world is about the judgments. How is that connected to the 5 kings of Edom? Edom is judgment. It's Esau. Esau was the left column. Was born from Isaac. Isaac was the chariot of Gevurah, judgment, and the ultimate judgment is Esau. And Esau, his name was also Edom, the red one. Red, judgment. Okay? So when we're talking about the 5 kings of Edom, Rabbi Isaac Luria is teaching us as the world was created. How was the world created? Through judgment. What does it mean? If there's just the light of the Creator and nothing else, how could there be light without a vessel to contain the light? But the moment there is a containment, a vessel, that's judgment. Why? Because in order to contain, you have to delay the light in. It has to stay in, otherwise that's not a vessel. What's a vessel? Delay. Okay? A vessel is basically stopping the flow and telling the light, stay put. Here you are. Okay, when I feel fulfillment, that is a vessel. Of course, I don't want that fulfillment to kill me, so I create another vessel by sharing it with others. I overcome my initial desire to hold on it for myself. That's illegal cosmically, because by that I create another tzimtzum, and that's what happened to the 7 kings of Edom. We're talking about the vessels being created and the light coming in. However, the light was too big for the lower 7 vessels. So those vessels reigned, as I said before, came into power, and then they died. They collapsed because too much light. What was the result? They lost 320 sparks. What are we doing here in our lives on this planet? We're here to lift those lost sparks. And that's what is called, by another name, the process of correction of humanity. Whenever we act with love, kindness, and we use judgment to overcome our negativity, we overpower selfishness, anger, hatred, greed, all of those negative emotions, and we transform them into vessels of grace and love and sharing. That's a correction, and then we lift few more sparks from the 320 lost ones. Okay? So we need judgment in order to overcome and to do our job. Conclusion, it's like to summarize. There are 320 sparks that fell into the dark side. Well, that is being described in Genesis as the death of the 7 kings of Edom. Okay? Out of these 320 sparks, 32 of them, which are called the heart of stone, heart in Hebrew, lev, 32. Lev is a heart, it's also 32. We cannot correct them in that stage, this stage of correction. So we have only 288 left. So really it's 320, but right now we're working on 288 to correct. Okay, do we have to remember these numbers? No. We have to remember the concept. that when the world was created, the light was coming into the vessels till the vessels broke. And as the vessels broke, chaos, pain, darkness, confusion was created. And that gave us the opportunity to rise, to raise ourselves, to create light out of darkness, to create completion out of friction. These are basically the uh, the basic rules that summarize all what life is about. It's all about correcting those broken vessels. So we can feel creators of our own. So if we understand that all of those Torah verses, all the prayers in the Hebrew prayer book, it's all basically kind of a computerized system that help us understand the matrix of our reality, okay, and give us the vessel to correct, to fix, to build, and to improve ourselves till we come back to completion, but now we earn it. Okay, so let's see how this works with us right now. And we'll just a little bit longer. So Rabbi Azakloria continues that I'll do it fast because, and he says that the first sequence of the 7 sequences of 6 letters in the name of 42 letters, the Ana Bekoach, the first one is Aleph Bet Gimel Yud Tav Tzadik. And that name has the power to start fixing the broken vessels and bring them back up to completion. What does it mean? We use that prayer daily because every day there's another correction for each one of us. What does it mean, another correction? There are some other broken vessels that me, you, each one of us need to correct. Okay, so when we pray and we meditate on these words, on these names, that is the consciousness. The first 6 letters, it's about fixing the broken sparks of that day. Okay, then the second name is Kuf Reish Ain Sintet Nun. By the way, that one does have a meaning in Hebrew. It means Kra Satan, tear up Satan, Satan. Over here, it says that some of the higher levels did not break into pieces. They were just being torn and fell down. What we know as Satan, the dark side, the evil inclination, the forces of negativity, they get their power from those fallen lights. So when we meditate on this name, which is the second verse, Kuf Reish Ayin Sintet Nun, it's in order to basically correct, bring back all of those forces of negativity and bring them back to their source. What's their source? Higher levels of light. Okay? They became evil just because they fell down. Why did they fall down? Again, to give us, humanity, the ability to create and feel and earn the light, but now from our point of view. Okay? Now, when we spoke, if you remember, about the name of the name of 42 letters in the level of Atzilut, we spoke about the Yud, Yud K, Vav, all of these names. And there's also another side. Together, both of them together in numerical value in Hebrew is Tishkach, to forget. And it's also Kuf Reish Ayin Sintet Nun. Because Basically, what correcting ourselves is about is forgetting all the pain and the suffering and the misery and focusing on what we want to achieve, the godliness, the spirituality we want to achieve, because as long as we are busy with how painful it was and how terrible it was, we cannot focus on becoming what we're supposed to become and gaining what we're supposed to gain. Okay, another aspect that is also, now when we're talking about how do we materialize that? How do we basically act upon it? How do we make it work in our lives? So saying the Ana Bekoach prayer in the morning before we go out to our daily life, or anytime we feel stuck, that's a very powerful tool. Again, when we say it as asking, please, God, our Father in the heavens, lift me up because I feel stuck in this reality of so much physicality and darkness and confusion. Another one of using it is one of the most famous prayers in the Hebrew prayer book, the prayer of the Kaddish. When do we use the Kaddish? Every time we move from one part of the prayer to another, there's a saying of the Kaddish. The Kaddish is in Aramaic, not in Hebrew. But what's special about the Kaddish, that it's built upon the structure of the name of 42 letters. Remember, in the third one of Olam Atzilut, it was divided into 4, 10, and 28. So the Kaddish starts with the verse, Yitgadal v'Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. We have here 4 words corresponding to the 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton. The next verse, Be'alma divra kirutei v'amlich malchutei ve'atzmach bukranei v'yikare meshichei. Over here we have 10 letters, like the spelling out of the Tetragrammaton. And then we come to a verse that has 28 letters. Yesh merabah mevarach lalam me'almaya. Over here, that's 28 letters, and then we have altogether 28 words. In this part, there's also Veishtabach v'itpar v'turman v'itnaseh v'itadar v'itale v'talal. Over here, we have 7 words of 6 letters each, corresponding to the 42 letters of the name 42. Also, each one of these words is starting with the letter Vav. In Hebrew, 6, 7 times, another time 42. So when we finish that, when we say it with all our might, we basically using again the name of 42, but it's rising much higher. Where else do we use this prayer? When somebody dies. On the grave, above, just by the grave, the mourners are saying this prayer, Kaddish. Why? Now the person who deceased, he cannot elevate himself anymore. So the people that stayed behind give him the ladder by the name of 42 letters hidden inside the Kaddish. And also the tradition is that the mourners continue to say the Kaddish, or you pay somebody to say the Kaddish daily for almost a year after they passing away, and on the death day, on the anniversary every year, in order to give another elevation. By the way, on the way to the grave, it is customary to say the Ana Bekoach also. Another time, and that will finish by that, the most important prayer in the Hebrew prayer book is the Shema Yisrael. And the Shema Yisrael, after the first 6 words, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, which is, Hear, O Israel, our God is one, our God, the Lord is our God is one. You can't translate it into English, but it means that basically there's one God, and the judgment and the mercy that I experience God through, it's all one. And we are all one. And then comes, that's from the book of Deuteronomy, ואהבת את השם אלוקיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. Here we have 42 words corresponding again to the name of 42. Here you have ואהבת is Aleph, Bet, Hashem is Gimel, Elokecha, Yud, Taf, Tzadik. And you see all the names into it. So the whole 42 letters. So even when we say the Shema Yisrael, we're using the name of 42 letters for a liftoff to rise above the physical reality. So the whole parasha of Mas'ei is about journeys, and how do we make a journey using the Shema Yisrael, the Ana Bekoach, the Kaddish, and basically all of that, all of these sequences, in order, even if I feel stuck and I'm not moving forward and the pain is getting bigger because the surrounding light is trying to get in, use the Ana Bekoach prayer. Say the Shema Yisrael. All of these prayers, meditations, they can give us the power to lift off and to move forwards. So, saying the Ana Bekoach. Another way, in Jewish tradition for many, many, many centuries, people used to make jewelry with the 42 letters on them, carry them with them in order to achieve protection. This is a piece of jewelry, I think it was made in the 16th century in Afghanistan or Persia. That area, it's the same area. So you have there, and you could find in Germany also something similar in different, the design was different. The letters was the same. Or using that as a protection, usually putting it in the synagogue or prayer books so you can meditate on it and have protection. So that could be also as art on the walls or jewelry. You can find in museums a lot of different versions of the art of how to use the name of 42 letters as a mean of protection, carrying it with you or posting it on the walls. Thank you so much. And we are going to continue studying, of course, and you're not supposed to understand everything, but you need to listen to this class again and again till you internalize it.